What's up, my comic comrades? We hope you all are having a great holiday season. Amazingly, 2023 is almost a wrap, so we want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for watching and hanging out with us through Variant's 11th year. We have an amazing community and we appreciate all of you, so from all of us here at Variant, thank you for another great year. Now, with 2024 almost upon us, today we're going to take a look back at 2023 and highlight what we think are the best and worst entries Geekdom had to offer. And to be clear, that will cover comics, movies, TV shows, and games released this year. And we've got a lot to cover, so let's get cracking. As is tradition around here, we're going to start with comics, and easily one of the best comics of 2023 is a DC title that launched in 2022, but wrapped up its first arc this year, and that is Tom Taylor's Elseworld story, Dark Knights of Steel. The story focuses on the reimagining of the DC universe in medieval times. As we've said before, the best way to describe the series is Game of Thrones meets the DC universe. You see, you have three different kingdoms, the House of El, the Kingdom of Storms, and Amazonia. We even learn that Bruce is the bastard son of Jor-El, thus making him half Kryptonian. That's right, a medieval half Kryptonian Batman, and we covered the entire story right here, so be sure to check that out. Staying in the DC camp, we have a brand new Batman story that just started at the end of this year and will roll into 2024, and that is Batman Mind Bomb, which kicked off in Batman 139. It tells the story of a personality Batman created for himself as a protection against psychological attacks. And that portion of Bruce's brain is wanting to take over Bruce's mind fully, as it's a more brutal Batman that can get the job done permanently. A Batman without humanity, aka Zur-En-Arrh Batman. Not only that, but we see Bruce's Zur-En-Arrh has gathered other Zurs from around the multiverse so Batman can get the job done on every Earth. At the end of issue 140, we see that Zur-En-Arrh transferred his consciousness into Failsafe, marking the return of the new fan favorite AI Batman villain. What I'm saying is, the story is only 2 issues in, and it's already one of my favorites of the year. I have high hopes for its continuation in 2024. Next, we have some more fire, and what I think is the best thing in all of comics in 2023, and that is Skybound's launch of the Energon universe. The greatest thing about this is that it wasn't advertised or promoted at all. Robert Kirkman and Skybound just did it, shocking all of us fans. You see, when he launched a brand new series on Skybound and Image in June called Void Rivals, all the fans just thought it was another creator-owned independent comic series from the Walking Dead and Invincible creator. But to our shock, towards the end of the issue, we see Autobot Jetfire appear, revealing this is part of the Transformers universe and the launch of the Energon universe, a shared universe between Void Rivals, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. So far, at the time of shooting this video, Void Rivals is 5 issues in, the new Transformers series is 3 issues in, and the G.I. Joe Duke title is 1 issue in, with the Cobra Commander series coming in January. And let me tell you, I'm up to date with every one of these titles, and they are fantastic. It's been a brilliant start to a relaunch of characters most of us love since the 80s, with the addition of Void Rivals fitting in great with this universe. It's a perfect jumping on point for fans of Transformers and G.I. Joe, as well as having all the elements and nostalgia for diehards. Moving along to Marvel, we have the Sins of Sinister story, which was absolutely fantastic, and we covered all of it right here on the channel. It really highlighted Mr. Sinister and showed us why he's one of the best X-Men villains of all time, with him using his genius in genetics and cloning to set himself up to be the ruler of the future. But of course, there's a lot of twists and turns along the way. And again, we covered it all. It also sets up the Fall of X storyline, which also has been really good. You see, a lot of the stuff that was set up in the Sins of Sinister arc starts to unfold in the X-Men Hellfire Gala and Fall of X. It's here that a clone of Mr. Sinister, Dr. Stasis, who has a black club on his forehead, basically forces but also tricks Charles Xavier into killing 250,000 mutants, setting up Fall of X. It's absolutely insane and has been a fun ride thus far. All in all, comics have been pretty good this year. We also have Josh Williamson's Superman title, which has been fantastic, and Superman keeps getting a bunch of different power upgrades. Also, the new Wally West Solo Flash series is off to a great start, and even the Star Wars Dark Droids crossover event has been awesome. Comics have inspired so many other forms of media that we all love to consume, so let's move on to TV. First and foremost, let's start off with Marvel TV, aka Disney+. First up, we had Secret Invasion. I think it's safe to say that this one was not so great. Easily one of the worst shows Marvel has given us on Disney+, which is very unfortunate because it had so much potential. It seems like the MCU just can't figure out what they want to do with the Skrulls, as they're bad, but then they're also good, and this was also perpetuated in the Marvels, which we'll get into later. And let's not forget how they did the Super Skrull so dirty in this series, essentially kind of making the Super Skrull the most powerful character in the MCU, when they should have just held off linking the Super Skrull to the Fantastic Four like the comic books, since since we know they're introducing the Fantastic Four very soon. It was just such a wasted opportunity. Then we have I Am Groot Season 2. As many of you know, these are just little 5 to 7 minute episodes that give us adventures of Baby Groot, and me and my 2 little girls love it. We binged the entire first season when it came out and did the same thing for the second season. In short, Baby Groot is adorable and hilarious. This is an easy win. If you haven't watched it, do so. The entire season is only like 30 minutes. From here, we have one of the greatest things the MCU has given us ever, and that is Loki Season 2. I cannot express enough how much I loved this season. It was a masterpiece, introducing amazing new characters like OB. The writing, cinematography, character development, interaction between all the characters, just everything was flawless. Not to mention Loki's characters came full circle as we see he was indeed burdened with glorious purpose, becoming the god of stories, quite literally holding the Marvel Universe timelines together, becoming the core of the MCU in a lot of ways. Again, Loki's arc in the entirety of the MCU and how it concludes in Loki Season 2 was phenomenal. I would say his story arc is in the same camp as Iron Man and Captain America. And lastly, from Marvel TV this year, we have What If Season 2. Now, it's not out yet at the time of shooting this video, but it does look very good, and we did enjoy the first season, so we're definitely going to be on the lookout for that. Moving along, we have Star Wars, which had 4 different forms of shows on Disney Plus this year. First off, Bad Batch Season 2. What can I say? This is one of my favorite animated series and things the Star Wars franchise is doing all around right now. And Season 2 was great, especially with the finale. Tech anyone? If you know, you know. I can't wait for Season 3. After that, we have The Mandalorian Season 3, which unfortunately, all in all, wasn't that great, and it's by far the weakest of the 3 seasons. There was definitely a lot of like, what's going on moments, like the cameo of Jack Black and Lizzo. It just felt very out of place and corny. Don't get me wrong, there were several cool episodes and moments, but all in all, the season felt very disjointed. It was like they didn't really know where they were going fully, with the season ending kind of back at square one. I'm also not sure that I liked that the Darksaber was destroyed in the end, kind of alluding that we have to be done with the old ways and start something new. But who knows, maybe they'll take the Kyber crystal from the Darksaber and use it to make Grogu's lightsaber. That would be dope, or even rebuild it and make a new Darksaber. All I know is Season 3 was a letdown considering how amazing the first 2 seasons were. Speaking of letdown, we also got Star Wars Visions Season 2, which I gotta say, was not as good as Season 1. I found myself not even wanting to continue watching the series. I still haven't finished it, but I'm hoping Season 3 gets back on track. Then lastly, for Star Wars TV, we have Ahsoka. I absolutely enjoyed this first season. Sure, the pacing overall could have been better, as the show took too long in certain elements that didn't really matter much, but overall, it was awesome. And come on, we got to see live action Clone Wars for the first time in this series. I'm talking, we got to see Hayden Christensen reprise his role as Anakin Skywalker, as Sky Guy, the Jedi General of his 501st, giving us the first live-action appearance of a Clone Wars Anakin and Ahsoka, as we got the young Ahsoka from the first several seasons of the Clone Wars, and then even her look in the final season of Clone Wars. Not to mention, we got a very brief appearance, yet still awesome appearance, of a live-action Rex for the first time. It also introduced an amazing new character, a breakout character called Baylan Skoll. It's just a shame that Ray Stevenson, the actor who portrayed him, didn't get a chance to see how much we all loved his character. With that said, Ahsoka Season 1 gave us so much Star Wars fan service, especially for fans of Clone Wars and Rebels, as we got to see Hera, Sabine, Chopper, and Ezra live action for the very first time. As for DC TV shows, there was none this year, so let's move on to miscellaneous nerdy stuff like The Last of Us, starring the one and only, the Mandalorian himself, Pedro Pascal. This is quite possibly the best video game adaptation we've ever gotten. This series was absolutely phenomenal, and I know us nerds cannot wait for Season 2 in 2024. I need some more clickers. Then we got the first spin-off series for Prime's The Boys. Now, I've been very vocal. The Boys is easily one of my favorite shows, period. So the bar was set very high for Gen V, and quite honestly, I didn't think there was any way of them being able to match the greatness that is The Boys. But somehow this series did it. It was amazing. I'm not saying it's just as good as The Boys, but it's in there. Gen V was a great addition to The Boys universe, and it honestly shocked me how they were able to recapture The Boys feel and vibes so well with a completely different cast and characters. You know what? Gen V is essentially what the New Mutants movie should have been. Next up, we have Invincible Season 2, at least the first half of it, as they're taking a break and then resuming in the new year. But the first 4 4 episodes, much like the first season, were phenomenal. I love how they're pulling from the Invincible comics, staying close and true to it, but changing just enough to make it fresh and new. Easily one of the best superhero shows out. Then we have Castlevania Nocturne, which I sadly haven't finished, but the few episodes I did see were absolutely phenomenal. The original Castlevania on Netflix is one of my favorite animated shows ever, so I can't wait to finish this one. And again, from what I've already seen, it's glorious. Staying on Netflix, we have the Scott Pilgrim Takes Off anime, which brings back all the original actors to their characters in the series, and it's brilliant. Netflix also released the newest season of Demon Slayer this year called The Swordsmith Village Arc. As we know, Demon Slayer is easily one of the best animes currently out, so of course this had to be on our list. But now, friends, it's time to move on to movies, and we're gonna start with Marvel. Alright, so kicking off this year for Marvel, we had Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which wasn't horrible, but wasn't all that great either. It was certainly a letdown, and the box office reflected that. They just did Kang dirty in that film. You're trying to build Kang to be your next big bad, but then you have him defeated by ants. Literally, that makes no sense. The movie overall just felt like a more adult version of Spy Kids, which is a shame because I really love Paul Rudd's Ant-Man and Jonathan Majors' Kang, but even that wasn't enough to save this movie. Then after this, we have arguably the best superhero film of the year and one of the best Spider-Man films ever, if not the best, and that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This movie gave us everything we loved about Into the Spider-Verse and multiplied it. The animation styles were beautiful, the storytelling was great as usual, and the characters were fantastic. I mean, when Miles ultimately learns that he was never supposed to be Spider-Man and gives that famous line, "Everyone keeps telling me how my story's supposed to go, but I'm gonna do my own thing," it just hits me every single time in the feels. I love it. It's an incredible movie, not just a comic book movie. Then we got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which was also great. Now, I personally don't love it as much as I feel other people do, but I definitely think it's good. I'm just not like super over the moon about it. I wish they would have killed off several of the Guardians so the movie had more weight, if that makes any sense. Even though I did like the movie, they did Adam Warlock dirty in this film, and I don't want to hear the excuse that he was just a baby or young. The portrayal of the character wasn't good, and it wasn't Will Poulter's fault. It was just a script that made the character that way. Then, of course, we have the most current and last MCU film of 2023, The Marvels. Now, I've been very vocal for years that I'm not a fan of Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel, both in the books and the MCU. So it's not shocking that I thought this movie was not good. I know there's a lot of people who would say I'm crazy and I'm being too harsh and that it didn't deserve to flop that hard at the box office, but hey man, I wasn't a fan. That's all I'm gonna say. For me, this is easily one of the worst nerd-wise things in 2023. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Although it should be added, the film cost Marvel Studios upwards of $300 million to make, and it didn't even break $100 million domestically. Hell, worldwide, the movie only made $197 million, meaning Disney is probably gonna lose around $200 million on the Marvels. Moving along to DC, we have The Flash, which as of now is considered the biggest flop in superhero movie history. But even though a lot of people say this movie wasn't good, I thought it was one of the better DCEU films. I mean, the fact that we got the return of Michael Keaton Batman in this film is enough for me to like it. So maybe I'm a little biased, but he was a complete and utter badass in this film. He was fighting a Kryptonian all by himself and almost won! A 70-year-old Batman almost beat a Kryptonian. So good. I also really enjoyed Supergirl in the film and the return of Michael Shannon Zod. So oddly enough, the worst part of the film was the title character, which actually isn't that shocking considering Ezra Miller. And we're just gonna forget about Ben Affleck's Batman suit because oof. Then we got one of my favorite superhero films of the year, the Blue Beetle movie, which didn't perform that well at the box office, but I liked it. Just because a movie doesn't make money at the box office doesn't mean it's not good. And this is a prime example because Blue Beetle was so much fun. If you haven't watched it, it's streaming now. It's worth the watch this holiday season, trust me. And then of course we have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, but at the time of shooting this video, the film isn't out yet, so I cannot judge it one way or another. Let's just hope it's good. Then as for some other nerdy movies outside of Marvel and DC, we have Transformers Rise of the Beast. I don't know about you guys, but I don't expect much from these films. I just want to have a lot of good action and Transformer fights. And that's exactly what this movie gave us, as well as the first appearance of the Maximals, which was glorious for me because my favorite Transformers is Beast Wars, so this was a dream come true. In short, it was another fun installment in the soft rebooted Transformers movie timeline that started with the Bumblebee film. Then we also got the TMNT Mutant Mayhem movie, which also was really fun. Now, given this is yet another reboot for the Turtles for the next generation of kids, my kids actually, as they're the exact age group this movie is for, and given that, I thought it was a lot of fun. I know some people complained about the portrayal of Master Splinter. He's like a grandpa, not that tough sensei, which I definitely get, but again, there are so many different iterations of the Turtles out there in movies alone, not to mention cartoon series, comics, and games, that if you didn't like this one, there's a plethora of other movies and so on to to choose from. I'm actually excited for a sequel to continue this version of the Turtles and see them evolve and come into their own. We also have Snyder's Rebel Moon coming up shortly, which again is not out at the time of shooting this, but it had to be mentioned as this is something the sci-fi and nerd community have been looking forward to for a very long time, and it's dropping literally in a few days after we shoot this video. Also, we have Godzilla Minus One, which I was able to see right before it left theaters, and man, was this movie good. It was not what I expected at all, but like in a good way. The movie is more about how the threat of Godzilla affects the people and the main characters in the movie, and it just shows Godzilla as this terrifying force of nature that they can't control, which of course is an analogy in reference to war, which is what Godzilla has always been about. In any case, this is easily one of my favorite Godzilla movies ever. I know a lot of people are saying it's the best Godzilla film ever made, and I can't really argue that, but I am partial to some of the classics and the 2014 Godzilla film. I would certainly put it in my top 3, and I can't wait to see it a second time. If you were not able to see it in theaters, make it a priority to watch it when it hits streaming. It's a great mix of new and old, and I like how they honored the original Godzilla films by kind of keeping that cheesy motion Godzilla has. It almost looks like a guy in a suit at times, and it just works. And rounding out the year 2023, we have games. First and foremost, we have Spider-Man 2, which everyone basically loved, and is griping didn't win a single award at the Game Awards earlier this month. But the game is still awesome nonetheless, a fantastic follow-up to the first one. We also got MK1, which reboots the Mortal Kombat franchise. This game is awesome. We're massive fans of Mortal Kombat, so we were excited about this one, and it didn't disappoint. Another huge game that dropped this year, and one of the most anticipated games ever created, was Hogwarts Legacy. Now, I haven't personally had a chance to play this one, but Tim and other members of the team have, and they freaking love it, which seemed to be the universal reaction to the game. I mean, this is an RPG where you could basically do whatever you want at Hogwarts. Just the concept sounds amazing, so the fact that the team at Portkey Games nailed it is a dream come true for fans of the Wizarding world. And lastly, we have Jedi Survivor, which, believe it or not, none of us have had a chance to play, which is shocking because we're all big Star Wars fans here at Variant. I don't know how. Oh wait, I do know how. I do know why I haven't played it. I don't have a next-gen console. Santa, where are you?
Daddy, I want another pony.
However, the first game, Jedi Fallen Order, was amazing, so it's not surprising that we've heard nothing but good things about Jedi Survivor. Not to mention the gameplay we've seen looks absolutely incredible, so we look forward to working our new way through Jedi Survivor in the new year. But there you have it, friends, the best and worst of 2023, and 2023 was pretty dang good. We had a few duds and disappointments, but overall, things in the world of geekdom were largely positive. Sure, the MCU needs to get their crap together, but hey, there's nothing to panic about. Things are gonna be fine. In any case, that's our take on 2023. So now it's your turn to let us know what's on your best and worst list for the year down in the comments. Other than that, we'll see you in 2024. You get it? That's like a dad joke, but I got 2 kids. Anyway, Happy New Year, everyone.